Hey folks, I'm Aspen Arrow and this is Planet Zoo. Today, having finished our staff center, I'd like to go ahead and start putting in a habitat. I know we still have an entrance and some signage to do, but we'll get there. I thought I would go ahead and put in our platypus habitat. And I'll be honest, I tried recording a few times. I tried doing some terraforming and I just am not good at terraforming. So I think what I'm going to try to do is do an indoor-outdoor enclosure so that we have an indoor viewing area with some deeper water using the glass barriers. And then that'll have kind of a waterfall coming out the back to start a little river that we can then extend into like our crocodile habitat, our wild water buffalo habitat. I think even the cranes need some water. So I am going to start by kind of deciding where it's going to go. I think since the platypus was the main prompt, we'll probably put it kind of in this area as you walk in. And this will probably be a multi-video build, as at least when I messed around with seeing if it was possible to get the water to stay inside using the glass barriers. It took a while to get this to work. So I will likely try to get at least our basis today of what the building is going to look like, get the water in, and the little bit of terraforming to start our river. And then we'll probably finish up the habitat in a second episode. So let's get building. We'll have a viewing area. We'll have our water tank. I think I want to leave them a little flat path area in between their water tank. And then we'll extend this part to have our indoor shelter and our keeper hut and access. Then I think this will be where they can get indoors and outdoors. And then we'll have our little river start here. Go ahead and grab the push tool and just kind of etch out a bit of a river here. Right. So our guests will be able to come around here, view them in here. We'll have access and hard shelter. And then what I did when I tested this was actually built a little ramp up to the indoor habitat. So we'll probably do that again. Oops, we're have a little issue under there maybe. All right, let's go ahead and get some barriers in. Our one-way glass. One thing I did find was if you don't have your glass on the right side for the one-way, when you try and adjust it, even though the water shouldn't be messed with by changing the color of the window, it absolutely does. So you do need to make sure that your one-way glass is on the correct side before you put in any water, as I had definite issues with just trying to even get it to change. And we'll come in and decorate and make this all look nicer throughout the whole process. So now I'm just going to grab the whole thing and we're going to raise it up. We may end up changing the height of this as we build up our ramp to it. And you can see, voila, we have water in a box. And have the start of a little river. It's not quite deep enough. I don't want it terribly deep, but we can maybe go a touch down from there. Of course, water in Planet Zoo is always finicky, so sometimes you just have to play with it a bunch, and that's just how it works. There we go. So that'll be the start of our little river, and we'll use various things to hide kind of the starts and stops so we can have various depths. We could potentially drop another little waterfall into the other habitats. So we can use rocks, dams, all sorts of things to hide the river starts and stops while making our water placement a little easier. And the idea is we will actually have a waterfall dropping out here. Go ahead and reset all my filters. Waterfall. And I am going to use the pre-made piece for this. I find the fountains useful. The special effects can be useful at times, and they certainly have a place. But for this, we're going to go ahead and use just the pre-made piece. And again, we may make a few adjustments to this, but this is just trying to get our rough sketch in so that we can work towards finalizing the habitat. And what the heck, we'll make it a multi-tier. So that'll be the start of our waterfall. It supposedly is flowing from our endless source of water here in our box. Actually, I'm going to need to drop that down a bit. And then what I want to do is actually make a little way for the platypus to get up and into their indoor box. So we would actually have like a little, they're pretty small, so this will actually be all inside, just to give an idea. That will be our building. I am going to ponder how to get the ramp in here for a minute and bring you back when I do. All right, so I think I have the basic layout here. Obviously, with being an indoor and outdoor, we're going to have some building to decorate and a lot of work to do, but we've put our path in that'll get into the indoor viewing area, keeper hut, and the start of our barrier. So all of that aligns and does work. And then we have a ramp up to the deeper water, which obviously will be just kind of a hidden wall, and then a roof. The platypus are pretty small, so I think this will work. We may get them in the habitat and find out that this is a terrible idea, but then you all won't see this video, and that solves that problem. And then they should have some land area. They can run around here. We'll extend it out. So it's probably a bit bigger than they need, but that's what I wanted to check in. I know they have a deep water requirement, and I am not sure we're going to meet that requirement with how we did the deep water. I think this is 13 feet. So I'm going to go ahead and put in our null barrier. Go ahead and just add that here and switch over to null. and run it along our building here. Go ahead and make these cut shorter. So let's see if it's even going to count that it has this water that it can access. It does look like it's counting it. Average depth is 10 feet, so I think that covers the deep water requirement. So since this is sort of a testing, I'm going to go ahead and save, and let's go ahead and really quickly just build up a wall here and see what happens if we put the platypus in the habitat. So obviously this isn't exactly our barrier, it's just to see if it's going to work. And sometimes that's what you got to do. You just have to test things and try them. And Sandbox is nice for that. Obviously with franchise mode, it's always a little scarier to mess around, but you can always come over and Sandbox, see if your idea works, and try things out. So let's go ahead and just grab, oh, we don't have any staff yet either. So let's go ahead and grab staff, grab a caretaker, a keeper, and vet just to get things going. And we'll have to do this again once we actually load. And let's go ahead and grab a platypus here. Sure. And send it into our zoo and see what happens. I can see that it's going to immediately be able to escape because I accidentally changed that to a null. So let's do that. And go ahead and just pull these out so the game doesn't think it's escaping. Okay. Now it shouldn't think it's escaping. Let's see what it thinks of its requirements. Doesn't think... Oh, and we've added guests. It's not traversable, I think. That's, you can go into animal habitat. Okay, so it can't... It actually can get under our barrier here, but that's okay. So it looks like it can get at the ramp, but not into the water. Let's see if we add just one of the sloping rocks here. Rotate. This is not the rock I meant to grab, but we'll make it work because we're just testing. That looks like a pretty steep angle. Let's shallow that out. Let's try grabbing the right. There we go. And go ahead and just build this across. Let's see if now it can access. It can. So it has way more space than it needs. But it does look like we'll meet our deep water area. Oh, yeah, and he's got right out. That's funny. That's all right. Yes, so we just need to be sure to do that. And then I think we can actually just make this a bit smaller. And of course the game has now decided that we'll just emergency capture and pause it. Okay, so obviously this habitat is way big, so we will probably actually run the barrier more like around here. And then we need to be sure that there is an actual ramp down into the water, and then our guests will be able to see them here, hopefully playing in their deep water. I'm a little concerned that the ramp being so long means they may not traverse it, but hopefully they do. So I think I'm going to go ahead and work on changing up the walls, as I don't think the breeze blocks really fit the vibe we've started with. And with this wall especially, where probably not holding the water, we could probably maybe match up our ocean bark, maybe do something more interesting there, and try and do a mixed medium building. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here for a few, and I'll bring you back once I've got some decoration. You will see the people and everything will go away because I'm going to load the save before we put the platypus in. I decided to go ahead and use the bark piece, the woven bark from our staff center and the thatch roof, and then try and incorporate some new pieces with plaster and sandstone. Let me know if you think the plaster color is right or if we should recolor it down in the comments. I sort of fiddled around with a few colors and just couldn't find one I liked. I felt like the sandstone already added some nice contrast. And you'll see we have a viewing area here from our path. And then we've hidden the ramp. And we'll have a viewing area here where they'll be able to see the river area. Does mean we'll need to move our path again. I will do that off camera and just do that on my own time though. And the front of our building will have, I think, some nice planter areas. Again, I'll probably do that off screen and just go in and get some foliage and rocks and whatever put in here, as I don't know that that'll be the most interesting thing to watch. And then in our building itself, we'll have our final viewing area. This will have one-way glass again, as we'll put our platypus's bedding and have a place for them to be indoors, as well as the place where they can dive. I did go ahead and put in a skylight, as I figured both our guests and our plants that'll be in the water probably want some light. So I think that's where we'll call this episode. Next time we'll work on finishing it up. Probably we'll build in the rocks, and this will all be rock and foliage to hide all this so none of it will be visible. Build in the rest of our indoor area, as well as actually get our platypus into the habitat. So I'd like to take the time to thank you today for joining me as we continue building in our random zoo. I hope you're enjoying the series and that you'll come back next time when we finish building this habitat up and finalizing it. As always, have a lovely day, and thanks so much for watching.